Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Panitz, the Rabbi of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia, and I'm speaking to you from the pulpit of this congregation. My message at this time has a rather piquant title. My message is entitled, A Penthouse Suite in Hell. A Penthouse Suite in Hell. What is the unity of a long, long rope? Is there one strand that extends all the way from one end to the other? In most cases, there is not. Rather, the strands intertwine, and although the rope is ultimately one object, it is a composite one. Most of the strands are shorter than the entire rope. They are absent, perhaps, from long sections of it. And thus it is with the Jewish worldview. We have a distinct understanding of reality based on our belief in the one God, a creative force for good. That underlies the many shifts in local perspective. And yet, our Jewish understanding has not been static. It has accommodated changes from era to era. Indeed, we've been home to some views in the past that no longer characterize the faith of many Jews today, ideas that may even seem strange to us here and now. One such view is the belief in Gehinnom, a destination for the posthumous punishment of the wicked. The belief in hell is attenuated in Judaism today outside of Orthodoxy. This process of, quote, hell freezing over can be traced in Jewish communities living in the midst of Western society from the 19th century on. But for most of Jewish history, the belief in Gehinnom was just as vivid as that in Gan Eden, paradise, a belief that has maintained itself well, even in our secularized era. Despite some important differences, pre-modern Jewish speculation about hell resembled the more widely known Christian ideas. It was an abode of the torment of the wicked. It had staff who administered the punishment. It had several chambers dedicated to the proposition that the punishment should fit the crime. Both Jewish and Christian views evolved a special role for the top tier of hell. There were differences, of course. The Christian view, so poetically summarized by Dante, reserved the penthouse level of hell, the first circle, for the unbaptized but otherwise sinless. In Judaism, by contrast, no one was consigned to hell merely for not believing in the tenets of Judaism, because all other nations could be justified in God's sight by fulfilling the basic laws given to the children of Noah. In Judaism, the heights of hell referred to a location close to the surface of the earth from which the voices of the inhabitants could be heard under the right conditions. This view underlies the Talmudic approach to a biblical verse in this week's Torah portion. Quote, "The children of Korach did not die." While on its surface, the meaning of the verse is simple. The Talmudic commentary tacks against the plain meaning of it and produces a vivid, even puzzling picture. We will now investigate this interesting corner of our tradition. A few chapters earlier in the book of Numbers, the Bible narrated the violent end of Korach's rebellion against the authority of Moses. God caused the earth to open up and swallow the rebels. The Bible enumerates the victims. Quote, "The followers of Korach and their households and every human being that was Korach's and all their possessions, and they went down, they and all that was theirs, alive to Sheol, to the grave. And the earth covered them over, and they perished from the midst of the assembly." Numbers chapter 16. Verses 32 and 33. So graphically portrayed by the Gustave Doré illustration that you see right now. So far, it would seem that the sons of Korach, being part of his household, were among those punished. But we learn otherwise in chapter 26, verse 11. The sons of Korach did not die. How might we handle these two reports? Most simply, we could infer that the children of Korach had separated themselves at the key moment from the ranks of the rebels, and thus were spared. Indeed, subsequent biblical texts listed the children of Korach as among the leaders of the Levitical service corps. A number of psalms are attributed to that family. Clearly, there was a presence of Korachites in biblical Israel in the generations after Korach and Moses. Intriguingly, though, one strand of rabbinic commentary rejects this simple interpretation. According to this minority view, the sons of Korach lived on but only entombed in Gehinnom. The Talmud connects them to the prophet Samuel, whom some rabbis regarded as a descendant of Korach. The father of Samuel, Elkanah, was an inhabitant of the place Ramatayim Tzofim, a place which means basically double plateau lookout. One of the rabbis interpreted that place name to refer to the sons of Korach, who inhabited a plateau set aside for them at the top tier of Gehinnom. As the Sefaria paraphrase of the Talmud expands upon this thought, quote, "The sons of Korach repented in their hearts and were consequently not propelled very far down in Gehenna when the earth opened to swallow Korach and his followers. And they stood on this high place and sang to the Lord. They alone stood at the height of the lower world." What might we glean from this useful for our picture of Judaism? If we do not have the classical Gehinnom in our understanding, how can this part of tradition speak to us? I will offer the answer as a maxim. World pictures change, essential values endure. Once again, world pictures change, essential values endure. I glean the following value from this rabbinic fantasy spun atop the biblical report. Each individual is his own moral agent. The, quote, sins of the fathers impel us in a given direction, but they do not compel us. People born in difficult circumstances are more at risk for following the dysfunctional role models of their formative years, but it does not have to be that way. For every young criminal who is a product of the hood, there are others from the same zip code who found their way to honest and honorable living. The Bible wrestles its way to this understanding. In Exodus, God self-describes as Poked Avon Avot al Banim, visiting the judgment due upon the evil fathers to their children, al Shileshim v'al Ribeim, for 4 generations. But later biblical texts see it differently. Deuteronomy and Ezekiel insist that each person is only punished for his own misdeeds, ish bechet'o yumat. And then Jewish tradition reinterprets the Exodus statement to bring it in line with this new understanding. Reckoning the crime of fathers with sons with the 3rd generation and the 4th for my foes, Exodus 20, verse 5, the rabbis understood this to mean that if the descendants continue to be God's foes, they will receive their punishment. But if they cease to be God's foes, they will be liberated from any intergenerational retribution. The sons of Korach then departed from the path of their wicked father, and whether we apply one world picture or another to the depiction of their ultimate destiny, the ethical insistence on the worth of each individual remains the important principle to be cherished. In our own days, there's an interesting phenomenon involving the grandchildren and other descendants of prominent Nazi leaders. A number of these descendants have volunteered for social causes in Israel and otherwise attempted to assist the Jewish people. They know that they cannot undo the horrific damage done by their evil ancestors, but they want the evil done by their forebearers not to be the entire story of their family. We should applaud this personal commitment to reparations. Finally, there is the religious poetic legacy of the sons of Korach. Their psalms have enriched our liturgy. If the line of Korach had ended in his own generation, our tradition would have been impoverished. It is intriguing to see that across the denominational street there is a Christian band, music band, known as the Sons of Korach. And as you can see in the illustration, it's an Australian Christian rock band. You see them performing in 2017. They perform the religious music of their tradition. We can applaud that revival of what good fruit emerges despite the evil of an earlier part of their family tree. May we remember that we live in an age still awaiting the full maturation of our human family. Therefore, no story is complete. May we be among those who, like the sons of Korach, repair the broken stories of our own circles and work towards a more perfected future. Amen.